Hey everyone, it's Holly with Wild Blessings. This is another Teaching Tuesday, September 20. And it looks very similar to my counter last September because Nature's Wave is really predictable, and which makes it kind of fun because the more you do this and the more you learn to ride Nature's Wave and the highly seasonal aspects of foraging, the more you can look forward to and anticipate what's going to happen in each week and each month in each rhythm of Nature's Wave. So tonight our class is on acorns, and I'm going to be posting that live on YouTube right after we finish our chat together here on our Facebook group. So you're not going to want to miss that because the acorns are dropping fast and furious, and well, I need to get something to drink. Let's have our wild tea. This is goldenrod punch. And I also have some dandelion root coffee, which I steeped in coconut milk with molasses. And so, but I really want the goldenrod because that's probably what my voice is hoarse for, is because allergies are pretty bad right now with ragweed season. So, Jace, do you want any?
I will take a pass this time, but thank you.
It's fine. I didn't want to share anyway. Okay. So let me tell you a little bit about what I'm doing to herb around. I've been making a lot of fruit leather, and the way you do it is you just take these apples, and I hope you're gathering apples. They're all over the high country, and if you don't have any on your land and you see them on someone else's land and they're not harvesting them, or after they've harvested, you could ask if you could glean. And one of the things you could do is take one of my business cards or just name drop me and say that you're a student of Wild Blessings and your naturalist teacher has given you the assignment to go up to someone's home and ask for a privilege of foraging on their land.
Now, does Diana Houck have any apples on her land?
Diana, she does. Over by the creek. I kind of know where all of Diana's weeds are, although apples are not weeds. So go ahead and gather the harvest. If you don't have it, find out someone who does. And then I just take these apples and I throw them into a pot and I boil them down and with a little bit of water, and then put them through a food mill. And that way you can just take that applesauce that you created, mix it with blackberries, which I had in the freezer from Max and I collecting them every day, and then, or whatever you want to mix it with. And because the pectin in the applesauce is so nice, it makes a good consistency. Then I just put it on a, let me get an example for you. I put it on a piece of parchment paper like this and stick it in the dehydrator and dehydrate it for a good 3 or 4 hours. And you just constantly test it to see if it's still tacky, because if it is, you want to keep it going, but you don't want it so brittle that it becomes like candy. Then you just cut it in strips and roll it up and put it into a jar like this. And tomorrow I'm going to be teaching a whole bunch of homeschool kids, and one of the things that I'm going to be giving the winners of some of the games we're going to play are the fruit roll-ups. So there's no sugar, there's a little bit of maple syrup in there, and so that's just a really wonderful treat. So I was just rolling them up and putting a rubber band around them and then sticking them in the mason jar to keep them for to store them. Probably not for long. I'll probably send some to Jordan too, because he loves stuff like this. This is way better than the stuff you could buy at the store, and it doesn't really take a lot of work at all. The other thing I'm harvesting a lot of right now, and I like to suggest you do as well, is the goldenrod, because it's just at the peak of its glory, and it's so beautiful. The pastures and the mountains are just shining and vibrating with gold, and it's an incredible gift. So gather it up, bind that up with a rubber band and get that drying upside down as well. And then when it's totally dry and crispy, you can de-stem it like you've seen me do many times and put it in a mason jar so that you can use it for teas throughout the winter. The way I make my goldenrod punch is I just make a tea, a very mild tea with it, and I put local honey in there and a little bit of orange juice. And so all the antioxidants from the goldenrod and all of its constituents are just in there, and it's so delicious and it's so good for you. So as you watch my acorn class, which I did the time codes for I was just, I'm just astonished at how much of a massed year it is this year. And some years they don't drop at all. And in fact, I haven't seen any red oak acorns drop this year. Let me know if you've seen any red oaks, but mostly it's just the white oaks that are dropping. And so sometimes it takes 2 or 3 years in between massed years before you'll have any acorns. So when they're dropping like this, gather them. So every day Max and I go up to the top of the mountain to our new sit spot, and I gather 100, these are 100 acorns. And then I bring them back, and what you want to do is you want to dry them on a single layer. And you can dry them in your car, you can dry them in a really low heat oven, which I don't know if I've ever actually done that, or you can dry it in your dehydrator. But they just have to be in a single layer like this. And these are all beautiful, and I like to do quality control as I'm gathering. And the reason why I stop at 100 is because it's like an Easter egg hunt, and it's hard to stop. I went foraging with Tara and Liz this week, and we had such a good time. We found lots of butternuts, and it was like an Easter egg hunt. So we were just like, we could barely stop. Oh, well, here's another one, and then we'd step on one. There's another one. And so you want to gather them and cure them. And then in my class, I'll teach you how to process them and how to cook with them. And you can just do the cold leaching or the hot leaching, and I really prefer the cold leaching. And another thing I love to do is, as I pull these nuts out, and you need to crack them open. I love acorns because they're mostly the nut meat. They're not like a hickory is mostly the shell, and a butternut's the same way. But they're really easy to open. The reason why you dry them first is because it makes it really easy to get the nut out. So as you take off the outer shell, I just put that right into a pot of water, which is right here. And then I just simmer that on the stove until it gets almost black. And that becomes an amazing medicinal wash. And so just watch my video and you'll find out why it's so amazing. So you don't want to waste anything. I don't like to waste anything. And this has been such a staple, such an amazing sacred gift from the Creator that people have appreciated for all time. In fact, Indian tribes would fight over certain oak trees because they would literally give you tons of food that they could keep for years to come. And so it was a kind of a big deal to have access to these precious trees. So you can, once you've got them deshelled, after you've dried them a little bit, cut them up a little and then stick them in water like this and fill it up. And then dump this out 3 or 4 or 5 times a day, and that will help to leach out the bitter tannins. Because the acorn is not one nut that you can eat raw because it will be very bitter. You just need to leach it until the bitterness is gone, and then eat it like any other nut. There's so much nutrition about it. I'm not going to get into all of that, but it's a complete protein, and it has the 8 amino acids. And there's so much just to say, so I'm not going to talk about it because it's all in my class, which I'll be posting right after this chat. I wanted to tell you about our contest this week, and I haven't been doing contests because I just got overwhelmed with them, but I'm going to do one this week because I really want you guys to participate with me, and it has to do with seeing trees. And so I have this new sit spot up at the top of the mountain, and I can look out over the mountains like I used to at my old spot. And you see all these trees, and there's just millions of them. And you can see them from a distance, and they just look like a block of color. But that whole woods is filled with individual trees. And so I went down into the woods behind my sit spot, and I sat there for a long time just with the Lord and with Max and just looked. And I just was so touched by how much beauty is in a tree and just how important it is to sit still long enough to observe, and especially now because they're getting ready to change their colors and drop their garb and become naked for the winter. And we've been watching them since they started budding out, and all the things that the whole evolution of the entire growing season And now it's coming to a tired end, but it's going to end with a pop of color, and it's just worth watching. So I just wrote some of these thoughts down as I was taking a video, and I want you guys to videotape your favorite trees and just some silence around it. So here we go. So I said, when you see a tree, what do you see? Do you appreciate its beauty? Do you enjoy its shade? Do you know its name and understand its many gifts? Have you watched the leaves bud out in the spring, unfurling into their full shape and their glory? Have you observed with interest its flowers blossom and bloom, magically forming seed pods and nuts and fruits and gifts of abundance? Have you felt its strength as you leaned against its trunk, or have you climbed its branches? Have you marveled at the way the sunlight dapples through its leaves, casting leaf shadows against its textured trunk? Have you rejoiced in a windstorm as the trees clap their hands in praise? Have you watched in awe as their leaves turn color each autumn? And have you gathered them? Have you watched the squirrels leap from crown to crown, racing along its branches? Have you visited your tree as they begin to release their leaves to the forest floor? Have you sat spellbound watching each leaf make its final dance? I think I shall never see a poem as lovely as a tree. So I thought I would just look up that poem, and so here it is. It's written by Joyce Kilmer, who is a man, by the way. So it says, I think that I shall never see a poem lovely as a tree whose hungry mouth is pressed against the earth's sweet flowing breast, a tree that looks at God all day and lifts her leafy arms to pray, a tree that may in summer wear a nest of robins in her hair, upon whose bosom snow has lain, who intimately lives with rain. Poems are made by fools like me, but only God can make a tree.
I love that one.
I do too. So then I was reading in my favorite devotional, Streams in the Desert, and it talked about the importance of being still. So back in the day, before we had cell phones, remember we had to sit still for a photograph because in order to, well, let me just read it. So it says this. The amount of time spent before God is critical, for our hearts are like a photographer's film. The longer exposed, the deeper the impression. For God to impress upon our spirits, it takes quite a while to sit at stillness at his feet. Remember, the troubled surface of a lake will not reflect an image. It is very unusual for there to be complete quiet in the soul, for God almost continually whispers to us. And whenever the sounds of the world subside in our soul, we hear the whisperings of God. Yes, he continues to whisper to us, but we often do not hear him because of the noise and the distractions caused by the hurry pace of our life. So it's my challenge to be still and to get out there and find your sit spot, do your hiking habit, especially now as the leaves are beginning to turn color. And every single one of those leaves, as they individually unfurled and became a beautiful leaf back in the spring, and then went through all of its metamorphosis, they're each going to fall to the ground. And the beech trees, of course, like to hang on to their garb for the longest. They're kind of vain, but in fact, most of the winter. But watching those trees, the leaves fall, is such a beautiful thing to do as well. So I'm just challenging you to get outside and spend a good 5 minutes of complete silence and observe what you see in a tree and what you feel in a tree. Okay. So that'll be so I'll be posting some of the video I've taken. So just videotape for 15 seconds and put it on the post where I say stillness post. And that way we won't be having all these new posts. It'll just all be in the same post. What else did I want to share? Oh, this is so exciting. This Saturday is going to be the best plant walk ever. It's going to be at the Patterson Incubator Farm, and Jason and I are going to go there tomorrow, and we're going to check it out. They've got, I think, 300 acres. So we're not going to do the entire 300 acres for a plant walk, but I want to figure out where's the best place to go because they have all the ecosystems there, and I want to see where I'll want to take you. So I did make, for that event, I made some cheesecakes that have blackberry jelly in them, and they're made with acorn flour and butternuts. So acorn and butternuts are in the crust, So they're really delicious. And then I'll bring a wild snack or drink as well to share. So if you're interested in joining me in that, I'll put the link to that down in the comments as well. I think that pretty much covers it, and I'm going to go ahead and put the Acorn class up there now. And is there anything else, Jason, you think I should do?
Say hi to Susie Turr.
Oh, Susie, hi, honey. We need to come do a plant walk on your land. I'm so excited about how much land you have and how beautiful it is. And so thanks for posting pictures, and yeah, I hope to see you sometime soon. Oh, Patreon. Guys, if you want to support me on Patreon, that would be such an encouragement to me and super needed as well. And you'll also get many blessings. I just put up an Acorn, what do you call it, Jason? A page on Acorns on Patreon, where I have the Acorn crossword puzzle, the Acorn, where's my scripture? The Acorn verse, which is to be the planting, the oaks of righteousness, the planting of the Lord for the display of his splendor. And so you print that out and you put oak leaves on that and make that beautiful. I'll put a picture of that in my post as well. What else did I put up there? Oh, acorn recipes. So anyway, I try to put things up on Patreon that will bless you guys for blessing me. And also you get a discount on all of our in-person classes. So that's it. And I hope that you have a blessed evening. Yeah.
Stacy Davis also joined you tonight.
Hey, Stacy. Oh my gosh. Give you a hug. Oh my gosh. Okay, goodbye, guys.